I talked about Get It Down notes in a previous video, but in this video I want to go more in depth into Get It Down notes. Before I kind of did a quick overview, but I want to really talk about the purpose of Get It Down notes. So what I'm about to say works for in-class notes. It also works for textbook notes. We want to be able to extract the information that's important from all our sources, and we don't want to write down verbatim what our teachers are talking about. We want to synthesize. It feels like if we're writing everything down, we're really doing a good job, but really it's very easy for our brains to write everything down. It's very hard for your hands, but it's very easy for your brain. Your brain doesn't have to work when you're just verbatim typing or writing everything down. And I'll have another video about that specifically and how we can sort of strategize around that. But you want to take notes in class, or if you're reading your textbook, to take some notes. In some classes, it's a little bit harder to take notes. A lot of my students complain about English. So if you are in a class like English where you're not talking about, historical events or formulas, try to write down summary points, even if it's after school, because you're not taking notes in class, but you really should be. Try to just write down, okay, this is what we talked about with Romeo and Juliet. This is what we talked about with, Pride and Prejudice. These were the themes. These were some good comments. So try to keep notes. Sometimes it's a little bit hard, but the more you do it, the more intuition you'll build around it, and the easier it will become. And really the purpose of Get It Down notes or textbook notes or any kind of quick note taking is to extract the important information. Our brains are very, very good at coming up with ideas and being creative, and they are not very well adapted to just keeping lists in our head. So without notes, we often forget what the teacher says, or we assume they said something different, and when we go to study, we're not focusing on the correct thing, and that's just frustrating, and it's kind of a waste of time. So we really want to be able to take the resource of sitting in class and use it to the best of our abilities. When we're taking in-class notes, because we're going to hone it, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? So what we're going to do is you can use arrows to connect ideas. You can draw lines like this section to this section. Those are connected because sometimes when teachers teach, they're doing it in a specific order, and that's the order that your notes are in, but the concepts aren't necessarily always linear. And we'll talk about this when we're honing our notes. So you have to speak in an order, right? Like you have to kind of organize as a teacher your ideas, but they're often interconnected. And so being able to quickly draw or connect those ideas in class will help you hone your notes much faster. And then make abbreviations, especially when you're writing by hand. It does take a while. And so if you are, say, in an economics class and you're like up and down, you could use arrows. If it's something about a book, you could do the initials, or a person, you could use their initials, like JFK. You don't have to write the whole name out. So there's definitely, this will make it go faster, but you really want to get a good strategy around getting it down notes because they're an invaluable resource, especially as we're moving away from textbook centered classes and more to like teacher curated stuff. It's very, very important that you use every resource possible because it's not just in one central location anymore. We're kind of having to ebb and flow and massage the information we get as we study. If you have any questions, email me, Jessica@DIYhomework.com.